Show you today a little bit about how to do some chrysanthemum cuttings. These plants here, I took their cuttings on them about 2 months ago, so they have grown on and they've been put into their big pots now. They're about a week or two away from stopping, so it's now mid-November in the Waikato in New Zealand, so well and truly into spring, getting into summer. Most of these plants I did myself. Some of them I bought at the Waikato Chrysanthemum Society annual plant sale last weekend. And as you can see, there's really not a huge amount of difference between mine and theirs, so I'm pretty excited about that. There's a few different ones here. These ones here closest to me now are fantasies, so they're slightly different looking. They're not as bushy and big as the other some of the other plants, and they're finer. It's probably a little bit more like their flower. These guys here are red Kitchener. They're more of a medium to large exhibition flower, and so their plants as well have got bigger leaves, slightly broader. Everything's just a bit more sturdier, but probably again a bit more like their flower. So these are my the parent plants from last year. So these are the ones I grew last year. And they died down. I cut them back and they died down, and they have reproduced more stems over summer. So, over winter and the beginning of spring. These ones I've actually taken most of my cuttings off, and these ones I just left to carry on growing. And as you can see, they've gone back to being fairly big plants. This one here shows you how they start off when they start growing at the beginning of the year. They sort of start off as just little bits coming out of the ground, and then they'll eventually grow up like this if you allow them to carry on. So with this one here, I'm just going to show you how you take a cutting for growing on. So this one, just snap it off anywhere further down the stem like that. Pretty sort of decent size bit of plant there. You can take off this plant, and you could get quite a few off this plant, but I'm only going to do one because it's not really the right time to be doing them. Although if you're just wanting them for your garden, you could do this at any time, as long as you make sure that you are watering them appropriately throughout the season. Okay, so here I've just got a wee tray of seed raising mix, and just wet it down a little bit because it was getting a bit dry. It had been there for a little while because I wasn't really planning on doing this today. Anyway, so I'm just taking the leaves off my little cutting here. I'm going to take quite a few off because it's there's a bug under there. They seem to grow just as well from tiny little things, so I'd say this is just a little bit too long, so I'll just snap it off there. So it's only now quite a tiny weeny plant, but they seem to grow really well from this size. So now I'm just going to make a little hole in my seed raising mix, so I don't push all the rooting hormone off it when I go to put it in. Just drop it in the rooting hormone for a little bit, make sure it's got a bit of cover on it, and then just pop that in the hole, put it in around it, and that's it. So you can make these cuttings, you can put a heap in one tray, or you can do it like this where you've got, you could put 6 little plants in here easily. From now on you just need to make sure that you water it, label it with what you have just, the plant that you've just taken cuttings of, because I've got quite a few cuttings here that I have no idea what they are. I'm just guessing. Won't know until the flowers come out, which makes the stopping a little bit difficult because each plant has different times that you're supposed to stop them to make sure that their flowers grow and are ready to bloom at time for showing. However, if you're just going to put them in your garden and you don't care about having good quality show blooms, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so there's my little seedling. He's just in the glass house now with a few other little plants that I've been growing on. These are all vegetable plants, so they can just sit there with them and start growing. And the root, they should root within a couple of weeks, and probably in about a month's time we'll be able to take him out and put him in a slightly bigger container, and then ready to plant him into a big container in, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. So this is showing you sort of one of my failures really, I guess, although it is growing now, so that's always a bonus. This one here and this one here, I took the cuttings at the same time, so I have no idea why this one here didn't like it. It just didn't seem to grow, and now that I've put it into a big pot with new potting mix and everything, it seems to be growing and being quite happy. So yeah, some failures and some that have worked really well, so make sure you put your labels on them, because yeah, as I say, you'll forget what they are. This one here is one that I bought off the Chrysanthemum Society. It's a spray chrysanthemum, which I've never tried before, so I thought I'd give it a go this year. These ones here are all cuttings that I took off one of my parent plants, so they've grown really, really well. I'm a little bit concerned that they've grown a little bit too well, but that's okay. This little one here is a charm, and it's growing in a tougher pot rather than in a potting bag, plastic pot. The reason that I've done that is because this one is shown as a full plant, so I'll have to be able to cut this one to the show, so I thought a stronger plastic pot might be a better idea. Anyway, so I will do another video shortly on stopping guide, or stopping, just remembering that this is only my 2nd year growing, and I'm not an expert, but I thought I'd quite like to do one, a New Zealand guide for chrysanthemums, because I couldn't seem to really find anything that was for New Zealand. So yeah, we'll catch up with you soon.